we must shine. We must shine now. This is the goal toward which we stretch step by step in our own time, at our own pace, as our beauty unfolds and our hearts open. We become gentler and more compassionate, yet brighter, more empowered, and fearless. We have been holding on, holding back, playing small, holding our light under a bushel. Enough of that. It is time to let go. We are needed now, all of us together. With these words adapted from the Cuban-American author, public figure, and spiritual LGBTQ leader, Christian de la Huerta, in honor of our Pride weekend here locally in Winchester, we begin today's service.
Welcome, members, friends, and newcomers who are joining us today in person or online. On behalf of the entire congregation, I welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Shenandoah Valley. I am Cecilia Latham, your worship associate for today's service. We wish to recognize and honor the Native tribes who lived in this area on unceded lands. The Catawbas, the Shawnee, the Delawares, the Cherokees, the Susquehannocks, and the Iroquois, who are also known as the Six Nations tribe. We come together each Sunday morning as a community of seekers of what is most important in our lives, seekers of understanding in the face of uncertainty and loss, seekers of forgiveness for our shortcomings, seekers of gratitude for the unexpected gifts we receive from all around us. We gather in awe of the beauty of nature and the mysteries of the universe. But most importantly, we come together as seekers of a community of love and empowerment, celebrating our search for truth and the meaning in our daily lives. Now, as Nancy Tishner comes forward, let us say together, here and from our homes, the words for lighting our chalice. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to see, to sustain, to share. And I invite you to join with us as we say our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church. The quest for truth is found. To do it all together in peace. To seek the truth and freedom. And to follow harmony. To be stands in one.
And now, if you would, please turn to our gray hymnal for our opening song today. And it's a familiar one, I believe, that goes with our opening words. And if you happen to be found in a row that doesn't have hymnals, perhaps our ushers can give you a hand. Raise your hand if you need a hymnal. Awesome. So we'll sing it together. Please rise in body or spirit. You'll know the words to this one, but probably later song you won't know. Here we go. 118. This is the light of fire. This to come forward and to help us learn a Unitarian Universalist identity chant that's designed for our young people, but we can all do this. I wanted to just take a couple of minutes to point out that we are in the process of rebuilding our youth faith development program, which was previously called religious education, in which many of us still call that. That was a term we were familiar with for many years. But of course, we're trying to rebuild after 2.5 years of an interruption due to the COVID pandemic. So we're trying to get back toward a program that we had before, but we are adjusting it a little bit to recognize the needs of our families and volunteers to have something for our young people every Sunday. So last week we had purple flyers. This week they're bright orange. And I'm just going to lift up some of the information. Oh, yes, it's great. Thank you. I just wanted to see if you were paying attention. No, I'm not colorblind. I had orange on my mind because of our stoles today, and I was also looking at Zelda's great colors, which went with our This Little Light of Mine song. So thank you. We need all the help we can get. So this is a time for all ages. Often Rachel does it, but other people will be leading it as well. Once we can formally launch our Way Cool Sunday School, that's what we're calling it this year. We'll have, while we still have a small number of young people, we're using a one-room schoolhouse model. So that's all of the ages together, with the older kids serving as assistants for the younger kids in activities that are selected. But once we have built enough regular attendance among our older kids, we will break into the 3 age-appropriate categories. And part of the name Way Cool Sunday School is that Way is all capitalized because it's an acronym. It stands for Wanderers, which are the youngest group, kindergartners through 2nd grade, Adventurers, which are the middle group, 3rd to 5th graders, and Youth Pathfinders, which are the ages 6th grade and up. So we do have curricula picked out for each of these age-appropriate groups. But of course, from week to week, we have to be kind of flexible about how we're incorporating those. The other thing that is a little bit different, well, not so different from when Corey was here as our full-time lifespan faith development staff person, is we will be having services for all ages each month. That's when we invite the families to be a part of the service for the whole service. We structure the service a little bit differently, more fast-paced, and always have activities for the kids to do. And those services always fall around a holiday theme, which is usually a good time for when families like to bring their kids to church anyway. I have to say something more about that. I have to look at my page here. Oh, yes. So we do have an activity table here that is for younger kids to be accompanied by an adult for any time families want to stay for the whole service. This is an idea that Corey had introduced, but we had only had a chance to try it out a couple of times before the lockdown. We also, of course, have a nursery room in the back for our younger kids in order for them to have a space to be with their parents where they can hear and where the younger kids can play with smaller age-appropriate tools. So, or toys, not tools. Also, we are going to be doing a better job of letting the whole congregation know what we're doing for our families, because since Rachel joined us last October, she's really been communicating directly with the families. We do have an email family newsletter that goes out to them, but the rest of the congregation hasn't really seen what we've done. And we did have a program set up during the summer for her to have a youth assistant, and they had activities through the summer whenever the kids were here. So we're just trying to spread the word and let everyone know that we're working hard to rebuild our program for families with children and youth. And now, Rachel, come forward if you would. And I'm going to be her Vanna White.
So this was the saying that we would say when I was in Sunday school many years ago. So I thought I'd bring it here and share it with everyone, and we'll take it back, and the kids will practice it every week. And some of you might know this, and it has some hand motions that go with it. So, so maybe I'll do it once first, so teach you the hand motions, and then we can all do it together. So it's, we are Unitarian Universalists with minds that think, hearts that love, and hands that are ready to serve. So all together now. We are
Unitarian Universalists with minds that think, hearts that love, and hands that are ready to serve. Good job. We can do it. So now I'd like for you to join with me in singing out our young people to a classroom setting today, one room schoolhouse, by singing Go Now in Peace. Go now in peace, go now in peace. Let the Spirit of the Lord surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. And now, if you would finish arriving this morning to this time, this place, this gathered community, taking some deep breaths to invite the fullness of who you are and what you're carrying from your life into this sacred space and time that we create with our presence together, both in person and online. For a time of meditation and silence. Last week, with our in-gathering service on September 11th, I lifted up the 21st anniversary of 9/11. And I also lifted up the death of the Queen of England, which had just occurred a couple of days before. One thing that I didn't lift up, which was definitely on my mind, and I imagine on many of yours, that would have coincided very well with our in-gathering water and earth communion service, was our concern about the massive flooding in Pakistan, displacing over 30 million people. And so today, before I share some meditation words with you, I want to ask that you join in lifting up supportive thoughts and actions to support our brothers and sisters in Pakistan and around the world as we continue to have really a growing number of refugees caused by many different issues. But this is a part of the world that we live in now, and many people are having to undergo a forced removal from their homes. And of course, many people are trying to decide, what do we do in response to this? So while we're aware of what's going on in the world, let's also pause and make a space for those joys and concerns that we have and have brought with us today. Spirit of community in which we share and find strength and common purpose, we turn our minds and hearts now toward one another, who are seeking to bring into our circle of concern all those who need love and support at this time. Those who are ill and may be in pain, either in body or spirit. Those who are isolated and lonely. Those who have been wronged. We are part of a web of humanity, a web of all of life, which makes us one with each other and one with the universe. We're grateful for the miracle of our consciousness, a consciousness that gives us the power to remember, to love, and to care. Please join me now for a time of silence. May we be strengthened by our time together so that we may care for one another more deeply. Blessed be.
Words of reflection today are excerpts from an essay by the historian Howard Zinn. It's called The Optimism of Uncertainty. It combines parts of essays found in his books, You Can't Be Neutral on a Moving Train, published by Beacon Press, and Howard Zinn on history. In this awful world where the efforts of caring people often pale in comparison to what is done by those who have power, how do I manage to stay involved and seemingly happy? Some quick lessons. Don't let those who have power intimidate you. No matter how much power they have, they cannot prevent you from living your lives, thinking independently and speaking your mind. Find people to be with who share your values and commitments, and who also have a sense of humor. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. The future is an infinite succession of present moments, and to love now, as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory.
A marvelous victory. Wow. To be hopeful in bad times is a reality we have all had to face these past 2.5 years of COVID. Trying to live through a global pandemic is no cakewalk. And yet, here we are. But it's not been without big losses and big worries, but here we are. As you know, we have been requiring masks still, even though the areas around us finally were able to lift that restriction. But COVID is unfortunately here to stay for a while. So, haven't we done really well in learning how to adapt? Boy, keeping our spirits up and a steadying balance in our lives has been particularly difficult in this age of COVID. It's been so stressful for everyone. You might recall that a year ago, I had to take personal leave for the first time in my career, other than for a family death, because the combination of work and personal life pressures got to be too much for me. I tried to keep going, but I had a severe spell of burnout. Even though I have heeded the guidance that clergy maintain adequate self-care and life balance so that we would avoid such things. As a single mother in a fast-paced and stressful managerial position many years ago, before I went to seminary, I did suffer a bout of burnout then. I learned the hard way the importance of maintaining a healthy balance in our lives. Fortunately, a year ago, I was able to come back to work, and even though I still felt frazzled on so many different levels, I kept going because I knew I had a sabbatical on the horizon, and boy, did I need it. I was really hoping that the extensive sabbatical preparations that were made to cover all the bases here in my absence, in particular Sunday services and pastoral care, would ensure that the congregation didn't experience yet another disruption. I knew about this congregation's history of strong lay leadership in the times before I arrived, and you had a series of interims and then half-time ministry, professional ministry for a couple of years. I was hoping that our minister emeritus, Reverend Henry Chickner, being back in the pulpit on a fairly regular basis would be a positive experience for all of you and him as well, for which he was paid, by the way, from the church sabbatical fund, created with thanks to the advanced planning of previous lay leaders of the church. I was also hoping that the strong sense of member responsibility and commitment for the good of the whole congregation that in previous times was forced by necessity would come forward and return in my absence. Not that it ever totally disappeared. That sense, though, of we're all in this together and we each have a part to play. And you know what? That's exactly what happened during the sabbatical. So just in case you weren't paying attention to all of this, like I have, I want to share with you a litany of accomplishments that were made here at church during the time I was away. With the leadership of the board, the finance committee, and the stewardship campaign, you all put together and endorsed a budget for this year that brought staff compensation in line with UUA recommendations. And we do have an excellent church staff right now. A lot of congregations were not able to do something like that. So the worship committee worked hard together to support our guests and lay speakers along with our summer musicians in providing weekly worship services. And meanwhile, our video tech team worked hard to create the online version of our services for both real-time live viewing and video viewing, which is such an important part of maintaining and enhancing our inclusion of those who are not able to join us here in person on Sunday mornings. No small feat. And Rachel helped to welcome new families along with youth assistants that I mentioned before to give our little ones Sunday activities. Our wonderful church caring network faithfully recorded joys and concerns that were gathered every Sunday, both in person and online, and shared them with a weekly emailed column. But the caring didn't stop there, because so many of you were reaching out and responding to fellow community members, demonstrating our caring and commitment to one another. The membership committee, with the help of everyone else, welcomed new members and newcomers into active engagement with the congregation. It's so wonderful for me to return to church and meet new people that were warmly welcomed while I was away. Many small groups continued to meet during the summer, like the Romeos and the Juliets. If you don't know what that is yet, you need to find out. Our covenant groups, the weekly meditation group here at church, and the walking group at the Museum of the Shenandoah Valley. Not to even mention the committee and task groups that kept things going, like the Social and Action Justice Committee, their efforts to collect plastic bags that has resulted in a brand new bench that we have in our entry, like the Aesthetics Task Group that has given our church library a little remake, like the building committee guys who arranged for the exterior of the church buildings to receive a much needed coat of new paint. If you didn't notice today as you were coming in, take a look on your way out. You can see the difference because they're not quite done yet. And thanks largely to Alice Irvin, our board secretary, and the board who designated funds, our church website, which desperately needed some infrastructure, new infrastructure, has a brand new spanky look, along with much more solid technological foundation. So that's a lot, right? But wait, there's more. We have this other little thing called the yard crawl. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Some of you are probably still recovering from that. Yeah, it takes a lot of effort in so many ways. Bringing donations, going out to collect and store donations, setting everything up and preparing for the crowds with parking and cashiers and snacks. It's a big operation. And we did it again. And we have folks who are right now preparing our next art show for the sanctuary here. And we had a wonderful in-gathering cookout and potluck picnic last Sunday out on the lawn, with thanks to the many who set up and cleaned up, the food bringers, and all those who came to dine together. It was really lovely. So, as you can clearly see, there were many gifts of the sabbatical time for our congregation, in addition to the ones I received gratefully while I was away, in order to refresh and renew my ministry with you, our shared ministry. This morning, I wanted to give Reverend Henry an opportunity to share a couple of his reflections from the sabbatical time, from his perspective, now that he's had a couple of weeks without having to prepare for a Sunday service. Once Henry has shared with us, we'll have a brief releasing of the sabbatical covenant, in which we will have Hal Allen, our board president, join us. Henry?
It's just a part of the uniform. I want to thank Reverend Julie for including me in this morning's service. And again, it's wonderful to have you back in the pulpit and in our daily lives. When Reverend Kane announced her sabbatical, Nancy and I were the chairs of the worship committee. Nancy and the worship committee did all the work, and I tagged along. When we realized that we would need to fill the pulpit for 4 months, count that, 19 Sunday mornings, we were initially overwhelmed. And with Julie's help of arranging some Sunday speakers and Nancy and the worship committee arranging others, I offered in a moment of weakness to speak twice a month. And so I did, and it was with great pleasure. Only one sermon was borrowed from my archives, and that secret is safe with me. I truly enjoyed the time, as I said in one of those sermons, to read, to write, and to talk. During this time, I felt truly embraced by this beloved congregation. The past couple of years have indeed been a challenge for all our Unitarian Universalist congregations. Like the Unitarian Universalist Church in the Shenandoah, have continued to be places of welcome and sanctuary, but others have not been so fortunate. And I credit our success to one underlying strength. We are a resilient congregation. To me, resiliency in a congregation is the ability to overcome challenges, hard choices, trauma, tragedy, crises, or simply life's problems, and to come through them stronger, wiser, and more responsive to the needs of everyone. It's the ability to bounce back after challenging times, and goodness knows the past 2.5 years have presented their share of challenges. When a congregation like ours knows where it is headed and what is important to our mission, there is energy and purpose like we have seen throughout the sabbatical. A clear vision draws people together, and when people come together, problems are solved and momentum is maintained. And as Jim Peters so wisely showed us a couple of weeks ago, a good sense of humor is key to a resilient congregation. It's true. A group that can laugh together has the attitude to weather all sorts of storms. Yes, life happens, people make mistakes, yet the power to be curious and to look honestly at oneself and look curiously at our congregation offers a buoyancy that can rise one above all of life's challenges. The leaders of this congregation are resilient people. Resilient leaders continue to discover what works today and to plan for the future. They assess ministry, they evaluate and improve congregational life. And lastly, a resilient congregation has the humility to acknowledge that we are only human and that we make mistakes. The board will make mistakes. The minister will make mistakes. And the congregation will make mistakes. Therefore, a forgiving nature helps a congregation stay above the fray. The truth is that we ministers come and go, and congregants come and go. But a strong, resilient congregation continues to thrive. And I believe in my heart that we are such a congregation, and it is a blessing to be a part of it. Let us go forth and prosper.
So yes, Cal, if you would step forward, and we have just a brief releasing of the sabbatical covenant with the three of us.
An appreciation of the shared ministry that was provided by members and friends of this congregation during the ministerial sabbatical of Reverend Julie. I am honored on behalf of the board to express our deep appreciation for everyone who helped out in supporting our Sunday services. Reaching out of our caring community and the leadership that helped to maintain and enhance the congregational resources of our church facilities and finances. You, the congregation, have proudly fulfilled our church mission and covenants during the sabbatical. May we take time to give recognition for the many gifts of sabbatical we have received due to your dedicated efforts. You shine.
And on behalf of the congregation, I express appreciation for the efforts of the worship committee, along with all of our many guest speakers and guest musicians. Thank you very much. That provided such meaningful services each Sunday. As the congregation's minister emeritus, it has been my pleasure and honor to lead worship services with you on Sundays and to be available for pastoral care during Reverend Julie's sabbatical. Welcome back. Welcome back. Everyone did a great job of holding down the fort, but we are ready for you to be back.
Dear members and friends, I return from sabbatical with deep gratitude for the time I was able to take for personal renewal and professional growth. I'm also deeply grateful for the commitment of devotion in this loving community demonstrated in so many ways on a regular basis in acts of both service and fellowship. May we not take for granted the ways in which our lives are truly blessed by our connections with one another and by our faith of Unitarian Universalism, especially during these challenging COVID times. Let us step forward with confidence and courage into the months ahead, knowing we can grow much stronger by being together than trying to face the future alone. Amen and blessed be.
The purpose of the church is to encourage all who gather to grow more generous in spirit and in action. We will now gratefully receive an offering to sustain the self-supporting church and its ministries within and without, beyond our walls. If you happen to be watching online, we hope you will consider making an offering after today's service through our webpage, the Shenandoah.org.
Awesome. It's so nice to have the choir back with us for a new year. Thank you so much. And now if you would please turn in your hymnals for our closing song today. It's number 298, Wake Now My Senses. We'll do all 5 verses. They're short. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing together.
As Nancy comes forward to extinguish the flame, let us say together here and from our homes the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish
for the
light for our community, for the fire of the we spare in our hearts and to serve you.
O spinner weaver of our lives, your loom is love. May we who are gathered here be empowered by that love to weave new patterns of truth and justice into a web of life that is strong, beautiful, and everlasting. May it be so, and go in peace.